So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the class of business statistics, where we are discussing the statistical description of a data. So primarily, we have understood what statistics is all about, and while working on statistics, it is very important whenever we work on statistics is that we should concentrate on a data, and whenever we are working on data, whenever the whole process is how will we work on data, the first process is to collect the data. So basically on that basis we can define statistics. Basically on that basis when we can try to define statistics can be descriptive statistics. Whenever we are talking statistics, it can be either defined as descriptive statistics or it can be defined as a inferential statistics. So when we talk about descriptive statistics, when we talk about descriptive statistics is all about working on population. So when we talk about descriptive statistics is all about working on population. So while when we work on inferential statistics is all about working on. So when we work on samples, then it is considered to be called as inferential statistics. While when we try to work on population, then it is called a descriptive statistics. So now maybe you people will be wondering what is population, what is sample. You need to understand that part, that like when we talk about statistics is the subject of research. So when we are trying to do the research, so what is the first thing what we try to do? The first thing what we try to do is to collect the data. So when we are trying to collect the data, before we collect the data, as we know that we are doing research, statistics is all about doing research. So we are trying to do a research. So when we are trying to work on a research, then every research has an objective. So what is the objective of the research? So based upon the objective of the research, what you try to do, you try to get the data, you try to collect the data. So what is basically population? So the population is basically sum total of all the units on which we want to do research. That is basically called as population. So what is population? Population is the sum total of all the units on which I'm supposed to do the research. Then it is called as population. Like suppose if I want to do research on you people, so all the students who have just joined the MBA curriculum in Padma Shri College, so I want to do research on them. So research can be how good are you people with mathematics. So I want to do research that how good are you people on mathematics. So what I'll do, I'll set a question paper and I'll give this question paper to all of you to solve. So you all of you who have joined Padma Shri in the first year, you all would be the part of population. So population basically means the sum total on all the units on which we are doing research. Then it is called as population. So certain time it is not possible to work on population. So instead of working on a population, what we do, we try to select the subsets of the population, which is called a sample, which we take the small part of the population which we called as sample, and then we do research on a sample, and based on the output what we got on a sample, with that we try to visualize the population. Then that form of doing research is called as inferential statistics. Like suppose if I want to black hole, suppose I want to study black hole, I want to study the topology of a universe. So no one knows the topology of universe. So few people say that universe is contracting, few people say that universe is expanding, big bang theory came in picture. So lot of different model came in picture. Einstein general theory of relativity, special theory of relativity, talked about space time curve. So lot of hypothesis is there about our universe. Now I want to know my universe. Now if I want to know my universe, so what we basically are dependent on, we are basically dependent on the light what we are getting from the outer galaxies or any part of the world. So we what we do, we try to collect the light based upon the wavelength of the light what we get. we calculate the distance of the object from which this light has came from. So we know the formula distance is equal to speed into time. So with that, we can try to calculate the distance of the object. With that, we try to anticipate probably how much bigger would be the universe. So here, when I'm trying to study the topology of the universe, I cannot go to the universe or to understand how big is the universe. So when we say universe means uni means one. So it can be multiverse also. Multiverse can be there would be another universe over it. Then there would be another universe. So we have no idea about that. So certain time working on population is not feasible. So that time what we do, we work on sample, and based upon what the output we got in sample, with that we try to understand the complete population. That form of doing research is called as inferential statistics. Descriptive statistics is all about working on population. Okay, so like here, only limited students are there in Padma Shri College. So for me, doing this research would be very easy. So only 20 students are there, 20, 25. So I can easily conduct an exam on you people to understand how good you are with mathematics. Imagine in your class, suppose if 900 students would be there. Okay, so imagine there 900 students are there in your college. So then it would have been very difficult for me to conduct this exam, to give question paper to everyone, and then whatever the response you get, I need to correct all the 900 copies. Imagine how much time that would gonna take for me. So then instead of doing that way, then what I would have done, I would have randomly have chosen few people from the class, and I have conducted exam on those people to understand how much effective are you with this subject mathematics. So I hope you are getting the logic between what is descriptive statistics, what is inferential statistics. Working on samples. So samples is nothing but it is a subset of a population. So what we do, we collect randomly samples, we study samples, and based upon that, we try to understand the population. So in sample, when we work on sample, there are a lot of sampling techniques are there through which you can collect the sample whenever you are working on sample collection. So what are the different techniques are there? You can follow simple random sample, the sampling techniques if you're working on the sampling techniques if you are working on. So you can follow simple random sampling, you can follow simple random sampling, randomly you can collect sample, you can follow simple random sampling, or you can follow judgmental sampling, you can follow judgmental sampling, you can follow judgmental sampling, or you can follow stratified sampling, you can follow you can follow stratified sampling, you can follow stratified sampling, or you can follow cluster sampling. Different techniques are there to collect the sample. You can follow cluster sampling. So whenever you get time from your statistics book, read about them, find the difference between them. What is the difference between simple random sampling with judgmental sampling? What is stratified sampling? What is cluster sampling? What is multi-stage sampling? Find the difference between them. What is multi-stage sampling? So there are there n number of techniques are there to collect the sample. You have quota sampling. Okay, you have, so these the like etc etc. There are a lot of sampling techniques are there. So by using these sampling techniques, you collect the sample and you do research on them to understand the complete population. So when SCSO, Central Statistical Organization, when CSO want to know how many people are living in India, when Central Statistical Organization want to do the census enumeration in our country, to know how many people are living in India, so they will go to everyone home, and then they will knock the door of everyone home and then ask them how many people are living in your home. Can you tell me their educational qualification, and can you tell me their marital status, XYZ questions they'll ask. They will go to everyone home and they'll ask these questions to so that to know how many people are living all together in India. Based on this data, what they'll collect, based on this data, what they'll collect, the same data can be used by UNICEF, the same data can be used by UNESCO, the same data can be used by World Health Organization to understand the literacy rate in India, to understand the sanitary conditions, sanitary what do you say, hygienic condition in India. So you can understand when CSO, Central Statistical Organization, when they went and they wanted to know how many people are living in India. So the objective was that after every 10 years, the government want to know how many people are living in our country, in which part of India, like how much people are living, which part is densely populated, less densely populated, which part is more literate, which part is less literate, which part of India is more hygienic, which part of India is less hygienic. So that all these are very important for government of India to know, because based on this data only, when government do the budgetary plans. So on 28th February, when the finance ministry, when they come up with the budget, they come up with the financial budget of the country. They use this data to forecast the next year budget, to understand what they can do for the betterment of the society, what they can do so that the GDP of our economy will improve, what they can do so that the human development index will improve of our country, what they can do so that the literacy rate in our country can improve. So it is very important that when centers when the Central Statistical Organization, when they do the census enumeration, so when they are going to everyone home to find the number of people who are living in particular home, the idea of collecting the primary data is to understand the demographic conditions in our country, and that demographic relation with the societal conditions or the relation with scientific condition will ultimately will help to India to develop in the future. So initially when we are working on statistics, the primarily functioning or the primary work on statistics is to collect the data. That is the first thing in statistics, is to collect the data. And when we are trying to collect the data, either we can work on primary data or we can work on secondary data. So the individuals who collect the primary data, they are called enumerator. They should have enough knowledge to understand the objective of doing the research, and based upon that objective only, they try to perform a research on statistics. In that case, if they work on population, that is called descriptive statistics. In that case, if they work on sample, then that is called inferential statistics. Whenever we work on sample, there's a possibility of error is always there. That error is called sampling error. So that sampling error is normally represented with a formula called sigma by root n. So we'll discuss about this formula called sigma means standard deviation. All that we'll discuss what is standard deviation and all. So when we do test of hypothesis, there we'll concentrate more on the problems which can be evolved based on sample. So we need to gradually try to understand certain time when we do research, certain time working on population is not feasible. So during that time, instead of working on population, we try to prefer to do our research on sample, and then ultimately it become the part and parcel of the inferential statistics. Like have you seen the movie Parmanu? So have you seen that movie Parmanu? In that movie, when India in Pokhran tried to do nuclear test. So Indian scientists, they have developed a nuclear bomb. So under because there were a lot of uh, there were a lot of what you say oppositions were there, because that was the era of Cold War. So during that time, neither US, neither USSR, or neither China, or neither any developed economy wanted India to develop their own nuclear weapon. So they felt like if India will develop the nuclear weapon, then it won't be good for the in the South Asian countries. So there were a lot of pressure from outside world India for not developing the nuclear weapon. But instead of having all those pressures and oppositions, Indians scientists they have tested the nuclear weapon. So when India has developed the nuclear weapon. So India cannot drop that nuclear weapon to test the effectiveness of the bomb, like what US has done, dropping the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So India cannot do that part. So if we have developed the bomb, if I know the effectiveness of the bomb, so how we can test the effectiveness of the bomb? So by taking small sample of that bomb, and then using, and then when we see the effectiveness of the small sample, that we can visualize, we can amplify, we can interpolate the extent of the pressure with the original bomb could have, can be possible to we have created, if that can be, that would have been blasted. So certain time working on population is not feasible. Like suppose, if Chetan mom told Chetan to go and buy 1 kg rice. So if Chetan go to buy 1 kg rice, then when Chetan go to any rice shop and ask for the shopkeeper, give me 1 kg rice, then the shopkeeper shows Chetan different types of rice, basmati rice, this rice, that rice, brown rice, white rice, all the rices the shopkeeper has shown to the Chetan, and Chetan want to buy 1 kg rice. Now, if Chetan want to buy 1 kg rice, now the Chetan cannot check all the grains, rice grains of 1 kg to see like how they are good or bad and all. What Chetan instead of that, what Chetan can do, Chetan can take a small sample in his hand, and he can check a different, like by putting them in the hand, checking. Chetan can check the quality of the rice by in his hand, and if he feel that yeah, this sample is looking good, with that Chetan will buy the complete 1 kg rice of that sample. So because that time working on population was not feasible, I hope you are getting the sense. Like if you are doing some research, like Ganesh, got an assignment from his teacher that Ganesh has to find out the leaflet pattern of all the trees in Lal Bagh garden. So Ganesh has to go to Lal Bagh garden and count, and not count, he has to work on the leaflet pattern. Maybe Ganesh is the botany student, and he has to understand the leaflet pattern of the trees in the Lal Bagh garden. So when Chetan go to Lal Bagh garden, sorry, Chetan or Ganesh, XYZ, anyone. So if Chetan or Ganesh go to Lal Bagh garden to check the leaflet pattern of the trees, there are so many trees are there, and within a tree also there are so many leaves are there. So they cannot work on each and every leaf to understand the pattern of how they are coming, their gymnosperm or angiosperm, all that they cannot work on, all the descriptive form of understanding. Okay, fine, for each tree what is the pattern and all. Instead of that, what they can do, they can simply take a small sample, they can divide the Lal Bagh garden into, assume that Lal Bagh garden is complete circle. So they divide the Lal Bagh garden into small sectors, and then within a sector they try to collect few sample, like that on every sector they can do that, and whatever the observation they got from that, with that they try to understand the complete Lal Bagh garden. So their working on each and every tree is not feasible. So I'm just giving you so many examples. Like certain time working on population is not feasible because it takes lot of time, it requires lot of money. Okay, it requires lot of hard work. So instead of doing that, what we can do, if you feel that your population is considerably infinite, so instead of working on population, you can work on sample, and there are different sampling techniques are there. You can follow different sampling techniques to collect the sample, and once you collected this sample, based upon the observation what you get from the sample, with that you try to understand the complete population. That is what inferential statistics is all about. So statistics is a research which start first thing with the collection of the data. Once the data is being collected, then we talk about the organization and classification of data. Once the data is being organized and grouped in appropriate order, then the analysis part of data is being done by performing mathematical homework. Once the analysis part is done, then the data is presented to the for the rest of the world. Whenever we talk about the presentation of data, whenever we talk about the presentation of data. In presentation of data, we talked about tabular presentation, we talked about textual presentation. Now the third thing what we need to study is the diagrammatic presentation of data. So when we talk about diagrammatic presentation of a data, when we are talking about the diagrammatic presentation of data, so in diagrammatic presentation of data, we'll talk about line diagram, we'll talk about line diagram, we'll talk about bar diagram, we'll talk about bar diagram, and we'll talk about pie chart, we'll talk about pie chart. So when we talk about line diagram, when we are talking about line diagram can be simple line diagram, it can be simple line diagram, it can be multiple line diagram, it can be simple line diagram, it can be multiple line diagram, it can be multiple line diagram, it can be it can be multiple axis line diagram, it can be multiple axis line diagram. Okay. It can be simple line diagram, it can be multiple line diagram, it can be multiple axis line diagram, it can be logarithmic line diagram, it can be logarithmic line diagram. So these are the different forms of line diagram. So either we talk about simple line diagram or multiple line diagram, or we talk about multiple axis line diagram, or we talk about logarithmic line diagram. So basically, when you talk about simple line diagram, you can see this simple line diagram. You can see this simple line diagram. Suppose this is the data given. Suppose these are data like time. So this is time. So like the data given to you. Simple line diagram. In simple line diagram, we only consider one variable. So in the time first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So you, I hope everyone knows 1 quarter is 3 months. So for each quarter, these are the production for each quarter. These are the production of the company. So for each quarter, these are the production for the company. So what I can do, I can draw a simple line diagram of this. This is the simple line diagram of this. Okay, so you can, so diagrammatic presentation data is very simple. So by using diagrammatic, the purpose of doing diagrammatic presentation data is to make sure that everyone should understand that part. Okay, so that, so and one of the form of that is simple line diagram. This is example of simple line diagram. Then the next thing we'll discuss is the multiple line diagram. So in the case of simple line diagram, I considered one variable. In the case of multiple line diagram, I'll consider multiple variables. So the same thing, so the production of the company, the same thing, I'll measure the production of the company. Now I consider the different part of the company, production of east branch, production of north branch, production of west branch. So I just considered the different companies production, and then I measured their production in different quarters, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So I got the data for the different variables. So here the variables are basically east branch, north branch, west branch, and I just got the production data of them. And now when I analyze them, so by like this, I can analyze them by using multiple line diagram. So I can analyze them by using multiple line diagram. I hope you are understanding. So you can see this blue color is basically the production of east branch. The orange color is basically the production of north branch, while the green kind of color, not green, it's a gray color. So gray color is a production of west branch. So here in multiple line diagram, we consider the multiple variables, and then we analyze these multiple variables. So this is what we do in multiple line diagram. Going forward, now we'll talk about multiple axis line diagram. Now what is multiple axis line diagram? Now you'll be confused. Now see this. I hope you know what is Nifty. I hope you know what is Sensex. So I hope everyone knows what is Nifty, what is Sensex. Anyone knows what is Nifty? Anyone here knows what is Nifty? Anyone knows here Nifty, Sensex? Have you heard of like this? Have you seen like this? See this? This is today market. Today market, what is happening with today market? Today market is trading at 13,733.80. This is the value of Nifty. Sensex is trading around 46,833. You can see that today market, what is happening in today market from the morning, what is happening, you can see. So now the market is little bit higher from the morning. It has went up by 49.90. So have you heard of stock market? Anyone anyone do investment in the stock market? Anyone here do trading? So anyway, so I'll not go into detail of that part. And so here you can see these dates. You can see these dates. Okay, now just see these dates. Now on these dates, simply have taken some dates. These are the value of Nifty. Okay, and this is the value of one stock called Infosys. Okay, there's a one company called Infosys. What I want to do, I want to analyze the Nifty value with respect to Infosys. I want to know, like, when Nifty goes up, how much the Infosys is getting impacted because of that. So is there any relation between Nifty and Infosys or not? So for the time being, those who don't know Nifty, please understand. For them, Nifty is something is a index. So Nifty basically track the best 50 companies which are public companies. So those which are public companies which have done the IPO in the past, those public companies, best 50 public company movement is being tracked by Nifty, while the best 30 companies movement is tracked by Sensex. Okay, so here if you see for these dates, these are the value of Nifty. If you notice, Nifty value is in 10,000. Well, if you notice the Infosys, Infi means Infosys, its value is in 700. Now, if I plot a graph between them to study the relation between them, imagine if I'm plotting the graph between them. So, to study the relation between them. So if you see this now, I'll get a graph like this. The what is the problem with this graph? The problem with this graph, there's no problem with the graph. Mathematically, nothing's wrong, but logically, I'm not getting what I'm expecting because I wanted to analyze them. But what is the problem I'm facing? Nifty is in 10,000, so this would be somewhere here. Okay, the stock is 700, so it is here. So there's no way I can analyze them. So here what I can do, I can create a multiple axis here. I what In order to analyze them, what I did, I created multiple axis here. This is your this one axis. If you see this axis, basically is tracking Nifty. So primary axis, secondary axis, and this axis is primarily is 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 checking Infosys. So I created multiple axes. The purpose of creating this multiple axis is to make sure I can analyze them on same parameter. Otherwise, how can I analyze them on the same parameter? So in order to analyze them on same parameter, instead of working on one axis, I created two axes: primary axis and secondary axis. And then it would make some sense for me when I'm observing these values. Okay, you can see this orange color is basically your Nifty value, while blue color is basically your Infi value. So I hope you got the logic why and when we create multiple x's. Multiple x's can be created when we are trying to compare two variables. Dip and problem with those two variables are both the variables are trading in different values. So how to analyze them? Suppose I'm studying economics, and in economics my teacher has told me in the economics my teacher has told me one thing. What my teacher has told me, so my teacher, 1 minute. So my teacher has told me one thing in economics, that if the price of potato, suppose my teacher told me the price of potato increased by 10%. If the price of potato increased by 10, then then the consumption of then the consumption of chicken, suppose then the consumption of chicken will increase by 5%, while the consumption of potato while the consumption of potato decrease by 5%, something like that. My teacher told me that if you increase the price of potato, then people will not buy potato. Instead of buying potato, will go and start buying chicken. So simply I'm just telling. It's just an example I'm giving you, simply like that. So so in suppose in economics I studied something like this. Now in order to prove this, what I did, I in order to prove this, I took the historical data where of price potato and chicken. So and I saw the movement of the prices and all. So maybe suppose I don't know, I never go to buy potato, so I don't know what is the potato price. Suppose potato price is 10 rupees per kg. I don't know what is potato price, maybe 10 or 12, something like that I'm writing. Something I'm just writing. Chicken price maybe is 80, 90 rupees something per kg. So maybe 80, 90, 85, something like that. So if I'm trying to plot the graph between them, then the potato price would be somewhere like this 10, and chicken price would be somewhere here like in 80. So I cannot analyze them. So if I want to analyze them, I need to bring both of them on same axis. So in order to bring both of them on same axis, what I have done, I created two axes. One axis is track, one axis I wrote 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, where in one axis I'm just counting, I'm just drawing the graph of the price of potato, and one another axis I'm writing the values through which I'm counting the price of chicken. So I hope you are understanding what I'm trying to explain you. So this is called multiple axis line diagram. So in multiple axis line diagram, we talk about comparison between different variables, assuming those variables are trading at different price range. So in order to bring at par with each other, so we create multiple variables to analyze them. Then the next thing is the logarithmic line diagram. We basically use logarithmic line diagram for such variables which are very volatile. For them, we use logarithmic line diagram to basically it is a property of log. It is a property of log. I hope you know about log. So I hope everyone aware about log. If you are not aware about log, I'll send you a video where you can understand to understand what what is log is all about. I hope everyone knows why we use log. We basically use log to determine the value of unknown if that unknown is in power. So when John Napier came up with the concept of logarithm and anti-logarithm, that time calculators were not there. So to solve exponential powers function, it was very difficult to do that. So good thing about is the log, that if you multiply log with both sides, then the exponential which is unknown, which was in power, it will come in multiplication form, and then you can find the exponential value very easily by simply dividing the log y by log a. So if you want to know about log, what is log all about, I'll give you a video for that. So whenever you get time, you can go through that. So to understand the concept of log, 1 minute. So you important for you to understand the log. So you can go through the video on log. So this is the log video. So if you want, you can go through this to understand the concept of log. So basically, we use logarithmic line diagram. We use logarithmic line diagram where we are trying to measure a unknown variable which is very volatile in nature. So to in order to smooth their curve, like when if you take stock market only, if you take any stock market value only, if you take any stock market value only, and if you plot like the graph of that variable, then the graph would be very volatile in nature. Instead of plotting the graph of that variable like that way, if you find the log value of that, then the graph would be much more smoother. Because I believe everyone knows, if you know this log, when we talk about log, we can never find the log of a negative value. A log 0 is not defined. So any number between 0 to 1, any number between 0 to 1, the log value will be negative. Log 1 is 0, while any value between 1 to 10, your value of log will be 0 to 1. Log 10 is equal to 1. Okay, while any value between 10 to 100, you'll get a log value between 1 to 2. Log 100 is 2. Okay, so log 100 to 1000 is equal to, in log, 2 to 3. So imagine if something is changing from 100 to 1000, but in log the value only changed 2 to 3. I hope you're getting the logic. So why we use log, this is the reason why we are using log. Because the you can see the value in log. So if I'm changing the value, there's some stock which price is 100. From 100 it become 800 or 900. So imagine in line how much volatility would be there. Imagine a line diagram how much volatility would be there. But the same thing, if you see in stock, if you find the log value of that, the volatility would be very less. So that is advantage what the log will give you. So suppose there's a variable x. Okay, there's a variable x, and if I find the if I just simply take some value between 100 to 1000, if I take some value between 100 to 1000, suppose some value I took between 100 to 1000, some value I took between 100 to 1000. Now this is y. Okay, now what is y? Y is basically the log value of this. Now y is basically the log value of this. So you can see this. Now you can see this. See everyone. So you can see this. So this value, this value is it 300. From 300 become 800. From 800 become 900. From 900 becomes 700. So see how much is the volatility. See how much is the volatility. How much it went go up and down. But if you see the log value, it is only in 2. This value does not. Its whole value is in 2. So I hope you are getting the logic. If you see this, if you plot the graph of this, if you plot the graph of this, so you can see this graph is so much volatile. Okay, while if you find the graph of this, if I plot the graph of this, so you can see this see this curve, and see that curve which I hope you are getting the logic. Why we use logarithmic line diagram. The purpose of using logarithmic line diagram is to analyze some variable which is very volatile in nature. Okay everyone, is this clear everyone? So line diagram, in line diagram, we study simple line diagram, we study multiple multiple line diagram, we study multiple axis line diagram, we study logarithmic line diagram. So these all we study under line diagram. Any doubt, anyone? Anyone, any doubt, any question you want to ask? So this all we studied in the line diagram. Now next thing what we need to study is the bar diagram. Next thing what we need to study is the bar diagram. So when we study bar diagram, basically in bar diagram can be horizontal bar diagram. It can be horizontal bar diagram or it can be vertical bar diagram. It can be horizontal bar diagram or it can be vertical bar diagram. So your bar diagram can be horizontal bar diagram or your bar diagram can be vertical bar diagram. So basically we use horizontal bar diagram. Basically we use horizontal bar diagram for representing a qualitative data. We use normally horizontal bar diagram. We normally use horizontal bar diagram to represent qualitative data while we represent vertical bar diagram to represent quantitative data. So it is just in theory. So it is just in theory. So keep that in your mind. So there's no logic behind it. When we talk about bar diagram, so bar diagram it can be horizontal bar diagram or it can be vertical bar diagram. So we use horizontal bar diagram normally to represent qualitative data, and we use vertical bar diagram normally. It's just a general perception to represent quantitative data. So, when we trying to talk about a bar diagram can be simple bar diagram. It can be simple bar diagram. A bar diagram can be simple bar diagram. It can be multiple bar diagram. It can be multiple bar diagram. It can be simple bar diagram. It can be multiple bar diagram. It can be multiple bar diagram. It can be subdivided bar diagram. Can be subdivided bar diagram. It can be subdivided bar diagram or it can be percentage bar diagram. It can be percentage bar diagram. So there are different ways are there to represent a bar diagram. So like the way we studied simple line diagram, like the same way, when we studied a simple but like the same way like the way we studied simple line diagram, like the same way we can study simple bar diagram. So like you can see one variable here, you can see one variable, so you can see here one variable, here you can see variable one. So here there's a one variable, so the city and the population, the city, the different kind of cities are there, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Different cities are there, and these are the population of these cities. Okay, so you can represent the same thing. You can represent the same thing. You can represent the same thing by using. You can represent the same thing by using a line diagram. You can represent the same thing by using line diagram, or you can represent the same thing by using bar diagram. So anything you can do. Okay, so this is a simple bar diagram. There's no logic. This like simple thing, very simple. So you consider one variable. If you so you can in the form of diagram, you can represent them in the form of simple line diagram or simple bar diagram. Or when we talk about multiple variable, or when we talk about multiple variable, or when I talk about multiple variable, so then I can represent them in the form of multiple bar diagram. So this is multiple bar diagram. So here I consider multiple variables like India, Japan, Australia, France. How much is the import and export? So this data are taken in crores. So how much the imports and export? I have taken the data in crores. I have taken the data in crores. So I hope everyone understand what is balance of current account. So balance of current account is positive if your export is more than import, and your balance of current account is negative if your import is more than export. So ultimately, the double what you call in accounts, what you call double entry. So double entry bookkeeping record what the Reserve Bank of India prepare to know the amount of money what is coming into and what is going outside the country, that is called as balance of payment. So it is very important for every economy to maintain balance of current account which should be positive. So balance of current account is the part of balance of payment. So balance of payment include current account, balance of capital account, and official reserve account. Those who studied international finance in their BCom or BBA, they definitely must have heard of these terms. Anyway, we are not going to detail of those terms. Talk on multiple bar diagram. Here I'm talking multiple variables, like suppose India, Japan, Australia, France, and these are the imports and export data. Uh, these are the imports and export data. Okay, so now I can plot this in the form of multiple bar diagram. I can plot this in the form of multiple bar diagram. You can see this. So I can plot this in the form multiple bar diagram. So this is multiple bar diagram. I hope you are getting this. Okay, so this is basically multiple bar diagram. So here we are considering multiple variables. Here we are considering multiple variable to analyze the given scenario. In multiple bar diagram or in multiple line diagram, we use more than one variable, and that by using that ultimately we can plot them in the form of line or in the form of rectangular boxes, which is called as bar diagram. So it can be horizontal also, it can be vertical also. So this diagram, what you see, it can be horizontal also, it can be vertical also. This diagram, what you see, so it can be horizontal also, it can be vertical also. So different ways we can plot them and we can analyze them when we are analyzing. So ultimately, if we take multiple variables, it become a multiple bar diagram. Clear everyone? Then the next part, anyone, any doubt, any question you want to ask anyone? Any question, any doubt, anyone? Any question, anyone? Any question, anyone? So we'll do this much in this class. We'll continue our discussion from subdivided bar diagram in next class. I hope you have understood what all I have covered in this class. If you want to ask anything, please ask me now before I wind up the class. Anyone want to ask anything? Any doubt? Abhishek, Ambika, Basit, Bhavan, Bhumika, Chandana, Chetan, Ganesh, Hemant, Karthik, Mahindra, Pratibha, Reshma, Ganga, Naveen. Any doubt? Yashwant. Application like these bar diagram, line diagram, whatever the diagram you are talking about, we basically we use them to represent the data. You can either represent them through line diagram or through bar diagram or through pie chart. Different ways are there to represent them. Whenever we, like when I'll teach you tableaus, like so when tomorrow you work on some analysis company as an analyst tomorrow, once your MBA is done, you will work in some MNC as an analyst, as a marketing analyst, or as a finance analyst, stock market analyst. So whenever you analyze the scenario, ultimately you did some analysis, but ultimately you want your manager to understand your analysis part, what you have done. So that analysis, to make that analysis looks good, instead of showing in the form of number, the analysis what you did. So people normally don't like numbers. So instead of that, if you show them diagram, so they'll feel much more better and they can understand in much more easier way. So different diagrams, whichever diagram looks better for that particular situation, we use that diagram. So normally when we do stock market analysis, we never use bar diagram and all. There we use line diagram only. So it depends. So there's no defined logic, or there's no defined parameter which diagram is used where. There's no mathematical or social or political law which govern that. It depends in which situation which diagram looks good, which can impress others, which can help you to get what you expect, and that how you do the work. So I hope you understood this. So any other question, anyone? So we have done a simple line diagram and multiple line diagram in this class. Okay, we have done simple line diagram and multiple line diagram in this class. So we'll continue from subdivided bar diagram. We have done simple bar diagram, multiple bar diagram in this class. Tomorrow we'll do subdivided bar diagram, percentage bar diagram, and pie chart. Okay, if you want the recording of the class, you can go through the my YouTube channel and you can watch the video there. If you want to see it again, the purpose of doing this recording is to make sure that in future also you can watch this for your general reference before the exam or for any other application. So with that intention, if nobody have any doubt, if nobody have any doubt, I'd like to wind up the class. Thank you everyone. Take care everyone.